In this lesson, we're going to be looking at data types. So far, we have looked at the string data type, and we know that a string is a series of characters encased in quotes. We can do a variety of different things with strings, like find its length and manipulate it from uppercase to lowercase, concatenate it, etc. What we can't do is we can't do any calculations with a string, so you can't add a string that contains, for example, a value of 10 to a string that contains a value of 20, and it wouldn't come up with 30, it would join 10 with 20, so you'd get 1020 or 1020, so that would be no good. So we need other data types. They're really important in our code to be able to have a variety of data types to work with, so we can do things like calculations. So in this lesson, we're going to look at the different types of data types and how you can work with them and how you can assign those to variables. So we already know that this is a string. Just make sure my pen's working. So I have a string here. A character, so that's a string. A character is just one letter or symbol. I'm going to call that char. And don't put quotes there. Let me get rid of those quotes. Now, if I wanted a number, a whole number, so a whole number could be 7, that could be 27, it could be 272. But a whole number is a number with no fractional part, just completely a whole number. And we call those integers. Now, if we want a fractional part, we may need a fractional part, for example, if we want to work, say, for example, with currency, with money. We'll need a fractional part with this, so we could have £2.72, for example, and you notice there's a binary point there. Now we call these either a real or a float. Now I'm telling you both because they're used interchangeably. Now in a specification they refer to them as real numbers. In Python it's referred to as a float. It's the same thing. So a real number has got a fractional part, and a float is the same thing with that decimal point. So we just need to remember that that's either called a real or a float. In fact, it can also be accepted if you put in the exam decimal as well, so you could call it that. So you need to make sure that you know all three of those terms that refer to a number with a fractional part. Another data type that you need to know is a Boolean value. Now a Boolean value can be true or false. So it would hold a value with true, or that value can be false. And they have capital letters for those values, so true or false. So on or off, 0 or 1, true or false. And those variables are used, as we'll see later on as we start programming, as normally flag variables to identify whether something has passed a condition or a test or something like that. So those are the data types that you need to be aware of. So how do we go about storing those values in Python in code? Let's take a look. I've got a new Python file here, and let's start assigning some variables. So if I wanted a variable, I'm going to call this variable, actually I'm going to call this whole number, and I'm going to assign this a whole number. You see that there's absolutely no quotes around that, because if I put quotes around it, it would be considered a string. It's a number, a whole number, so therefore it doesn't have any quotes. And let's assign a real number. And I'm going to assign that a number with a fractional part. Let's have a Boolean number. Oh, it's not a number, sorry, a Boolean value. And I'll assign that to true. And of course, let's do a string value. So if I call this a string, I can assign that a string too. number, a whole number is an integer. That's what we call that. So simply, you'd have a variable name. This could be anything. So this could be, it wouldn't be prices, it could be students on a trip, number of students. So no of students. There you go, 34. This could be the price of something. We assigned it to that. This could be form collected. I don't know. Let's say we're going on a trip. We've got your form. True. Yes, I have. And this could be a string, which we're aware of. Message equals hello. Okay, so that's all there is to know about data types. It's important to know the data type that you're working with for a number of reasons, but most importantly, it's so that we can do calculations on the number data types and be able to manipulate strings and character types. Stop this video, do the first task in your OneNote, and once you've done that, move on.